Hello everyone, my name is Vivian, I'm from ANU Academic Skills, and in this video we're talking about quoting. Generally, quoting is only used sparingly in an assignment. You will hardly ever quote. It's much more common to paraphrase and to summarize somebody else's ideas. However, you might quote when paraphrasing changes the meaning. So if there's no way that you can paraphrase the idea without changing the meaning, then you might quote. You may also quote if you are analysing how the source is worded. So for instance, if you're in a discipline like literature, history or law, you might be analysing exactly how a particular phrase is put together. In that case, quoting is important as a source. You also might quote when you're adding strong emphasis to your argument, when the quote perfectly captures the idea that you're representing. In that case, you will also need to analyse that particular idea. Now, in terms of how you quote, generally you keep it exactly the same and you add the quotation marks and a reference to the end. You also need to introduce a quote as part of your sentence. Use some introductory words to show how it fits your idea. It's also a good idea to explain what your quote means, to take the time to explain what are the ideas in the quote and how do they help you to answer the question that you've been set. Now the next part is going to talk about what happens if you want to change some parts of your quote. Say for instance you notice that there's an emphasis in the original quote. Generally you will keep the same emphasis, such as italics or underline. But if you want to add emphasis yourself, you do need to tell us that you've made that change. So in the reference you might say my emphasis or emphasis added. If you want to delete words that might not be relevant for your quote, you can use the ellipsis or the three dots to show that you've removed those words. If you want to change words to make them better fit your sentence, for instance, use square brackets to show which words you've changed or added. If you notice a mistake in the original, such as a typo or spelling mistake, you can use the square brackets and the word italicized SIP or SIC to explain that that was there as in the original. Sometimes you might come across a chunk of text that perfectly summarizes exactly what you want to say. For this, we're going to talk about doing a long quote. Now, be very careful about long quotes. They take up a lot of space in your writing, and generally it's preferred that you have short quotes, or much more preferred that you have paraphrases rather than use long quotes. However, if you do want to use a long quote, that is usually about 30 words or more, or 3 or 4 lines or more in your text, you need to reference it slightly differently. Now, most referencing styles will tell you that you don't actually have any quote marks. Instead, it's indented. So you see that the entire quote here is indented a little bit to the right. You still provide a reference at the end. And you do need to take the time to explain what the long quote means and how it fits your argument overall. When you do take notes, it's important to take down where you find your quotes from. So when you take your quotes down, when you take down exactly what people said, make sure that you put in your references as you go in your notes so that you can recall that information later. It saves you a lot of time. Also, take the time to think about where does this idea fit in my argument? How will it help my answer to the question? What are my views on the ideas? You can use the Turnitin practice site to help you see whether you've misquoted or accidentally quoted but not referenced it appropriately, and there's more information on the Turnitin practice site about how to look for those kinds of issues. Finally, you can come and see us at Academic Skills. You can come and see us for individual consultations, you can come and see us in workshops during orientation week, we sometimes run workshops during your courses as well, and we have many online sources. So, best of luck for your studies.